Welcome to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where the voices of a small town meet the headlines shaping our world from the front porches and fields of Cedar Valley. We bring you reflections, stories, and questions that matter, connecting real lives to real events for faith and community. Walk hand in hand with today's headlines. This is a Cedar Valley News, sponsored by Readers and Writers Book Club.
Greetings. I'm Teresa Nikas, coming to you from a town where conversations begin on front porches, circle through church halls, and settle into the hearts of families that carry Cedar Valley forward. A national headline made the rounds this week. A federal judge ruled that states may continue challenging the elimination of certain teacher preparation grants, programs that once helped universities train new teachers and build partnerships with local schools. Commentators focused on politics, lawsuits, and shifting priorities in Washington. Yet behind all the noise sits a quieter, older question. When did education drift so far from the people who live closest to the children learning in our classrooms? The Constitution never mentioned education as a federal responsibility. Not once. Americans understood learning grew from families, churches, and the community around them. Early schools weren't built from federal programs, they were built from local conviction. Towns raised a one-room schoolhouse and filled it with the best they had, teachers who knew every child by name and taught reading, writing, and arithmetic with purpose and clarity. Those basics became the roots of a sturdy life. Then came a long century of programs piled on top of programs. Federal grants arrived, often carried by good intentions, but each brought new requirements, new reporting, and new layers that slowly shifted focus. Schools adjusted. Teacher prep programs shifted. Federal priorities slipped into places where local wisdom once stood. When the grants were suddenly eliminated, the shock had two faces. For the states, it felt like the rug was pulled out from under years of planning. But for many parents here in Cedar Valley, it brought a different realization. Somewhere along the way, the heart of education wandered too far from home. Look around town and you'll see what folks talk about over coffee. Reading scores slipping lower than they should. Math confidence fading. Employers receiving applications from young adults unsure how to communicate clearly. Teachers carrying the weight of every new mandate while just trying to teach children with honesty and care. The frustration isn't anger, it's grief. Grief over the basics we've lost, the clarity we've traded for complexity. But Cedar Valley doesn't have to accept this drift as destiny. This town has a long memory. We remember why schools were built in the first place. We remember when parents, teachers, and church leaders shaped learning together. We remember when kids left school able to read with understanding, write with purpose, and work with numbers confidently enough to step into real life with steady footing. Returning authority to the states may align with the Constitution. Returning ownership to the community aligns with common sense. And maybe Cedar Valley can lead by example. Local families could gather, not in protest but in purpose. Teachers could speak plainly about what helps children learn. Churches, civic clubs, and small businesses could lend their voices. Not to argue, but to rebuild. A school's role should be simple. Prepare children with the skills that last. Teach them to read well. Teach them to write clearly. Teach them to work with numbers until the fear fades and confidence rises. Teach them to reason with honesty. Everything else grows from those roots. The national headlines can argue over authority. Cedar Valley can choose responsibility. Thanks for joining me today. Quiet questions lead to strong communities, and strong communities guide children toward a future built on steady ground. You've been listening to Quiet Echo from the Cedar Valley News. Until Monday, stay steady, stay hopeful, and keep the conversation gentle enough to be heard.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News, sponsored by Readers and Writers Book Club.